Hi, I'm back with another excruciatingly poorly lit episode from the green room. This is starting to look kind of like the ones that I did on She Never Slept, which are just virtually unwatchable to me now. So, the less light I have, the more this kind of fuzzy pixelating thing starts to happen, the grain. Um, I'll never have a totally 100% clear picture on this particular webcam, it seems. If there is a way to adjust it to that, believe me, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm kind of one of these people who just bumbles through technology until I figure out what it does, and try not to break anything by experimenting. And I've had this webcam for like 3 years and never used it and really at all until 2.5 months ago when I started using it for these videos. Um, I had I had shot some test footage last summer because I kind of had this idea. Um, but anyway, so the lighting right now is pretty bad, but it's because I don't have an overhead light in this room, and so at night it's a little tough to get some really uh, good light going at good angles. So I mean, I kind of like the look of it, but it'd be better if this were like a film or something, a scene in a film, it would be cool. But I don't know how people feel about watching me talk like this for a half hour to an hour. I don't know if it's an eye strain. It could be an ear strain. But, I kind of feel like, what the hell? I talked to my therapist today, and he said that these are therapeutic the tools, these videos. He didn't know I was doing them. I thought I'd mentioned them to him last time I talked to him, which has been a few weeks, which was one of the problems I was having was not being able to get in touch with him and starting to have this crash. But anyway, he approved, so I'd be doing them regardless. But he's correct; they are kind of therapeutic, and I've kind of been left with a weird feeling about doing them this week, though. This week I've been left with a weird feeling about doing them. Period. Um, I think that's because of the videos I saw of my ex fiance. Um, they're really personal. They're really esoteric. They're top notch. They're clear. They're well done. She's an incredible photographer. You guys probably get tired of me talking about her. I'll be real honest. I get tired of me talking about her too. It's just I doubt I'm being talked about in any of those videos, and I'm not going to explore to find out because that's just a bridge too far. It's just let it be. I found out what I needed to know, and I got an idea, and it's cool. And my therapist said, "Don't watch those videos anymore," and he's right. I mean, they're it triggered me, and it didn't just trigger the effect of my emotional life, but I mean, it's affecting my creative life too. I mean, I've talked about this in some of these recent videos, but it's affected the actual act of me making videos themselves, that act itself. Um, I'm more self-conscious about my videos. I feel like they're lower quality compared to what she's been working on. Um, I feel like maybe I'm not talking about anything of substance when I could well be. I've kind of been uh, gradually building up toward that instead of like smashing people over the skull in the first one with my particular ideologies. Um, in other words, I found a good place within myself in which to launch this platform 3 months ago. But now that place in myself is very precarious, and so the platform itself seems very dubious. So I'm not going to stop making them, but they're harder to make now because I do find myself veering too much into a lot of the immediate personal feelings that I'm kind of working through right now. That a lot of which are related to her and to where I stand now in the scheme of things without her. Now that I have finally gotten to the acceptance part of grief, more or less, and it's a hard place. I didn't want to be there, but and I had to do it myself. You know, she wasn't going to give me any feedback. So you know, that's fine. It's heartbreaking and it's disappointing, but I feel like she's on her journey and she's beyond me. Maybe in her mind she's, you know, I don't know, too good for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's a narcissist and I just never noticed. I don't know. I don't. I've always put her on a pedestal, kind of, and always thought highly of her, and I still do think highly of her in so many ways. And she has influenced my work and my thought and my life in a super positive direction. Unfortunately, she didn't stick around to see it manifest, and you know, attempts to make amends have been misinterpreted every time, or just left uninterpreted. And that kind of passive aggressive silence I eventually was able to deal with it and to move forward enough to where that silence could just be. After I saw those videos and then I made one as a reaction and sent to her, that silence, at least on my end, was shattered, and you know, she's reemerged into uh, a communal discourse artistically, and I was always hoping by the time that happened, because she's kind of into herself for most of the last year. Uh, I was concerned that when that happened, we would not have talked things out, and there would not be a lasting peace established for both of us about what has happened. And there isn't. This whole thing has been a unilateral decision on her part from day one, and yeah, I mean, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and uh, but at least it happened at this juncture point. If I had progressed to the point of where we were going, which was to be married toward the end of last year, um, and then she began having this kind of need, this desire, and tiring of me, and going on this other journey, and not, feeling she understands me or not feeling I understand her, whatever, you know, um, it would have been a disaster because then I would have to go through the whole legal ramifications of separation again. I've already been there once, and I was kind of explaining all this to her because she had never been married, has never been married, and I was hoping to help to make our situation better by taking what I had learned and applying it. Um, I feel like she thought I was perhaps belittling her or one upping her on her experience. There's plenty of places where she has a much more in depth life experience, even regarding human and romantic relationships, than I do. And then there's areas like the marriage where she doesn't have any uh, reference, in her own experience, anything to go by. So I'm torn, as usual. I've never had someone shut me out so completely of their life, um, to this level, to this like unprecedented level where there's like zero acknowledgement of anything. Um, and the last acknowledgement was a series of question marks, ambiguous, open statements that what do you mean? No explanation forthcoming, none giving, and her tact toward me has been, no regrets, no apologies, no forgiveness. She has withheld her forgiveness very deliberately because I've specifically requested it, um, and been denied. So that's a difficult thing to live with. And then to see that someone of this nature is in the world and trying to do good, which I think she is, um, and yet I wasn't an important part of her life. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to be written out of someone's history when you know you're a key factor. I mean, I say things occasionally about my ex-wife, but there's no way I would pretend we weren't married or we didn't know each other, or if when we were having a divorce, when it was absolutely necessary, and only then, I would try to contact her and be as cordial as possible. Um, I never had a chance to really do any of this. Everything was decided for me, in this situation, an 11th hour scenario. And I have been abandoned in the 11th hour once before in a really bad way, but I wasn't nearly as far into the relationship as I was with Kelly. I mean, we were not engaged. I mean, I was serious about her, and I was, crushed that it happened. But but she finally came around and apologized and explained some things to me. It took a few months. She had a lot of personal issues and a dark past. Things were a little different with my ex fiance. Well, they were a lot different, and so I didn't anticipate this happening. Um, you never do. It's like, do you have to be? Should you be ready at all times for your relationship or your marriage to end, and have like a backup plan, a plan B? This is something I'm really wondering aloud on a practical level. What do you do? And these are the tools that I don't have yet. I haven't learned how to do that yet. Grieving and hurting and suffering have been my tools, um, and then creative outlets and just trying to learn from it and apply it and move to the next experience with some kind of semblance of wisdom. I feel like a lot of the progress I've made in the last few years on myself and within myself, uh, is coming undone just recently. Uh, since she left, on and off, but especially within this last week. I mean, it's hard to see. You have gone on this, soul journey, and you have, you know, gotten up to these stages, these plateaus, and then I don't know. It's like then you kind of look down at yourself and you've fallen, and you're disappointed in yourself. And I am. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't have, and maybe don't have yet, enough uh, the confidence or the self worth to completely stop thinking about what this person thinks about me and what they're doing in the world, the way I did in these other situations I alluded to. And I did it much sooner in those situations. Um, I mean, I know what it's all about, and I've tried to explain it to her, but got no feedback. So, you know, it's a very personal thing to me. It's basically when you're someone like me who suffered a certain amount of loneliness and just being the weird, strange person all the time, all your life, and you like it. After a while, you take it as a strength, but it also gets old, and uh, you find that one person who truly does understand because you see yourself reflected in their eyes, and they know your pain and your joy in equal measure, and that is what I believed that had happened. Um, and perhaps it did, and it just altered. And the why of that is not for me to know. In other words, I can understand why someone doesn't want to talk to me or doesn't want to be in a relationship with me, doesn't want to live with me. I'm pretty hard to live with. Not extremely hard, but yeah, I have a lot of weird habits, and I can be slack about a lot of things, and I don't mean to be. But I am a lot more motivated when I'm involved in a marital situation, a living situation. At the time we were living together, I was trying to find a regular job. I had selling the collectibles, and I had some savings, and I had a boarder here. A friend was renting from me. Um, but I wanted something regular out in the world and just kind of so I could do that, and then she could do stuff here at the studio. And we talked all this out. We worked all this out. I thought, this was the life that I had always wanted. And she doesn't want that life. I can't comprehend what kind of life she wants. Sure, it's none of my business. So then again, what do you do? Is it time for plan B? It's probably overdue time for plan B. Um, and I don't know what it is. I can plumb the depths of my soul and try to consider some possibilities, but every time I do so, my brain keeps trying to reject what I've learned and what I've realized in the last few days, because it's so painful and it's so fragmenting. It's 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 shattered my self-image somewhat, and my will, which has always been pretty strong, to survive and to go on. I think this time I completely locked into another person, and they unlocked for me, and it was traumatic. And uh, because again, I went into things, understanding that this was a permanent commitment. That's what was brought to my table, that was wanted by this person. Um, I mean, if I had been the one to leave or to kick her out or do any of this stuff to her, that'd be something totally different, you know. But for the person who approaches you with the life they want to lead with you, and you're like, wow, this is what I've always wanted, and then they want to just pull it away from you, it's hard, it's difficult, because you feel like, no, no, this is mine, and it's not so much the person is your belonging, but the thing you've built together is partially yours, and it's being torn away from you and destroyed or taken away with that person or whatever, what have you. And it's the saddest feeling I've ever had. It's the worst grief I've ever known, and it's indescribable, really. But I'm sure people who are watching, there are people who have gone through this, something similar, or similar emotions, and probably maybe things a lot worse than this. So I apologize. I'm not saying my problems are more important than everyone else's, but they're mine, and I'm the only one who can deal with them. And you know, uh, it is not to. My lights are going wonky again. It's not to court sympathy when I say this, but for real, I am alone in the world, and it's all on me. And I don't have any friends that I know who are as alone right now as me. My ex fiance, she is like that, though it seems she's making tentative grasp to come back into the world. And I'm a nuisance, keeping her from doing so peacefully. But she's made me that, or in her mind. She's erected this image of Moloch in her mind of me, that I'm a threat. And how can I really be a threat when I don't really know much of anything about this person now. I don't really, they seem to be the same person I knew, and that's what's so depressing in those videos. But in her real life, I don't know. I mean, the decisions she's made, or whatever she's done on her own, it has nothing to do with me, and nor should it. And therefore, I've only been left with conjecture. And I finally gave that up, but now it's like my mind's been doing it again. And it's an endless kind of loop. And that's why I'm on medication. That's why I'm reaching out now, trying to get some healthcare professionals to kind of talk me down off the proverbial ledge, but not the proverbial, because I'm not committing suicide. I'm not on the ledge. But I think in my psyche, in my mind, I am. I'm about to fall. And in some ways, I feel like I'm already falling. And I don't know if I can be caught in time before I break. And, you know, I haven't broken completely. I have in the past, at least once. I haven't broken completely this time. I wouldn't be lucid enough to do this video or cracking any, however bad jokes, if that were the case. Um, but I still feel in that realm, in that territory in my mind. It's familiar territory, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. Maybe my experience will help me navigate it, but it's in a different context now. It's as before. It's kind of relationship, commitment, family related. So in that sense, it's very similar, but in every other sense, it's very different. The nuances, the valences are totally different, and they were things that were not threatening to me. They were not. They were not X factors. They were, every step of the way was reassurance towards the future. and I'd never had that so completely. I had come close to my ex-wife for a period of time. Uh, so once you taste that, and you're the weird odd man out of all reality, it feels like sometimes. What do you do? Do you not? Of course, you crave it, and then you have to, starve again, and that's where I'm at. I'm back to the starving and the you know longing part. And she said to me, right before she moved here, the famine is over. We will both feast in many ways. We'll never be alone again. And I wonder to myself, why do people say things like this to each other? Why do they bother to say them if there's a chance that that reality could be sharply altered at any moment? And these are the kind of things that keep me up at night. Literally, kind of keep me up at night, but I don't really have a sleep schedule. I have sleep apnea. So I kind of sleep when I can, when I need to. My sleep's been okay lately, but my dreams, sometimes they've been a wonderful escape, and then sometimes they've been too close to home, and I wake up and she's there, and it's like just grinding in my brain, that she's really actually not there. So, you know, it's an eternal quandary. I'm sure most all of us, not all of us, maybe have suffered it or will suffer it, unfortunately, um, or know someone who has. Is that sad irony that the one person that treated you the best, that loved you the most, or so you thought, and that you loved the most, that you felt the best, most positive energy about, uh, deems you as negative energy, deems you as a negative force in their existence. And yet, there's been nothing to justify that claim. That's what's so strange about all this. Um, yeah, I've been a bit needy and you know racked with uh, all kinds of emotions while I was trying to reach out to her after the split. And I was probably a handful. No, I was, I'm sure. But I didn't get a clear view of where she wanted to go, and I don't know that she knew. And now it seems like maybe she does. And see, all this stuff, none of it has anything to do with my reality anymore. And see, I realize that, and yet there's a part of me that wants it to, that somehow thinks that by holding on, it's going to make it so. When I know that's absolutely not true. That third mind that was birthed between us is dead. I mean, I can't resurrect it no matter what I do. And I could never do it alone anyway, nor would I want to. I fell in love with a person, not an idea. And, I want to be with a person. I thought I'd found my person, you know, and kind of like my cat found his human, I guess, and I found my cat. I thought I found my person, and I don't know. Sometimes tears are the only recourse left, and that may be where I'm heading now. So I'm going to tie this off. I may or may not post this, and there's about a 50-50 chance. You can subscribe or check out my other videos. I didn't mean this video series to be a documentation of my downfall and hopefully, recovery. Uh, I didn't mean it to be that at all. Um, but it is kind of becoming that on one level. And I apologize to anyone watching this. Um, you don't have to spend this time in my head with me. I mean, it's okay. Um, you can wait till I, talk about some movies again or Black Sabbath or whatever. Until then, take care. Thank you so much. And